Hi everyone, my name is Marlena. Welcome to my channel. So today I decided to do a video on my weekend in Montreal, but I decided to do it a little bit differently. It's kind of a failed vlog. I didn't really explain a whole ton of what we did or the places that we went. I don't really film my life or put things on Snapchat or Instagram anymore, so I honestly forget to film sometimes, but I tried to film as much as I could this weekend to make it into a video. But I thought it would be a little bit more helpful doing a video on things to do in Montreal on a budget and that are just really cool. We really enjoyed our time in Montreal. We had a great weekend. And so without further ado, here are the places that we loved in Montreal and the things that we did that I would recommend for you guys to do as well.
Thank you for choosing Montreal, Canada. On behalf of the entire crew, we wish you a pleasant day.
So my first recommendation when in Montreal or Quebec in general is to try poutine. I know I say it in the most anglophone way as possible, but poutine is basically a French-Canadian delicacy. It's French fries, cheese curds, and gravy, and it is heaven on earth. Its birthplace is Quebec, and so naturally if you find yourself in Montreal or Quebec City, Gaspé, wherever you are in Quebec, I really do recommend trying out poutine. For us, we went to a fast food chain type restaurant in Quebec. We just needed a quick bite once we got off the train before we were going to hike.
Mans thinks he knows more than me about directions.
Mansfield, this is the riddle. Because I looked it up and remembered it.
So, we just got to Montreal. We had a quick bite of poutine, or poutine, because we got to do it right. Where do we go? What's it called?
Oh, La Belle Province.
Oui.
It's a chain.
It's super humid and hot. We're already sweating and we're going up these stairs. And hopefully we're gonna find Montreal.
My next recommendation, a must-see, is Montreal. It's the mountain in Montreal. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it was Jacques Cartier that claimed it as Montreal, and then that kind of developed into Montreal, the name. So it's a historical site, but it's also got such a beautiful view of the city. If you do it on foot, it's actually not too difficult of a hike, in my opinion. You can also take a couple of the trails around the mountain down to the other side, and so there's just a lot more to see if you're hiking. So Montreal is definitely a place to check out, and it's free.
Yeah, the cemetery. That's where I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
So if you are in Montreal, I really do recommend having a smoked meat sandwich. Montreal is famous for their sandwiches, their smoked meat ones in particular. They're not exactly like a Reuben, they're comparable, but honestly better in my opinion. So Schwartz is probably the most famous deli in Montreal that sells the smoked meat sandwiches. But we actually didn't go to Schwartz just because it is a very busy location. So we decided to go to Lester's. It was delicious and did not disappoint. So I highly recommend Lester's if you want a smoked meat sandwich, but you don't want that kind of busy hecticness of Schwartz.
still sleepy. I don't think the coffee has quite hit yet.
It takes 20 minutes.
Yesterday we went to the park after we ate dinner, and we just chilled. We got home at like 11, and then we went to bed like 11:45. And we set our alarm for 7:15 this morning. Only we did not get up at 7:15 because I snoozed the alarm. We got up around 9. Went to this nice cafe near the place that we're staying, and this is like the best latte I've ever had. Next to Little Victories in Ottawa.
And what I make.
And what do you make? So we're currently on our way to St. Viateur. Is that how you say it? It's a bagel shop in Montreal.
My next tip is definitely to try out Montreal bagels. I know I say bagels funny, by the way. I'd like to preface that. But anyway, so Montreal is famous for their bagels. We decided to go to St. Viateur's. I think that's how you say it. Viateur. Je ne sais pas. We went to the one on Montreal, but there's a bunch of different locations, and I think the original one is on St. Viateur's. We tried their fresh bagels, and I am not kidding you, they are the best bagels I've ever had. I highly recommend the everything bagel. That bagel was the best one I've had in my life. I had like garlic, sesame seeds, onions, poppy seeds, and it was just so amazing and soft and warm, and I highly recommend St. Viateur's if you're looking for a good bagel in Montreal. So in terms of getting around Montreal, we basically got around most of the city with Bixi. So Bixi is a bicycle company, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have stations all across Montreal. I've seen similar stations in Toronto. I know they have like a similar thing. I don't know if it's put on by Manulife. I know Manulife is like their advertiser. So it was super convenient renting the bikes. Basically you rent them for 30-minute trips, and you just have to dock them within 30 minutes, and then you can take out another bike within another minute and go on to somewhere else. So it was really, really great way to explore the city, and really cheap. It only cost us $5 for 24 hours, and so we got to see a lot of Montreal that way, and I highly recommend it. I recommend trying to stay on the bike paths though, just because it isn't too safe to be on the main roads that don't have a bike path. You don't have a helmet with Bixi, that's kind of a downside, so you definitely have to be attentive and careful. So my next recommendation is the port in Montreal. It's beautiful. It's right outside of Old Montreal, and it has a giant Ferris wheel.
You want one?
Yes.
Old Montreal is definitely the place to see in Montreal. It's just got so much history and so many beautiful buildings and beautiful architecture, and we really enjoyed all the restaurants and the cafes around that area, and just exploring it. Is definitely a place that many people flock to. It's an old cathedral. We didn't get to see the inside because the lineup was humongous by the time we got there, and we just didn't think it would be worth spending most of our day in the line. I know also that the cathedral has a light show that's pretty spectacular at night, I think during the weekdays. So if you get a chance to go to that, I would. So for dinner, we went to a place that was my choice. It was the Auberge. The view is absolutely spectacular, and we got to watch the sunset there. And so I highly recommend it. So that night, we just decided to ride our Bixie bikes around the city, and we actually came across the coolest park. I honestly don't really know the name of it, but they took these two old subway cars that used to be used, I guess, for the metro in Montreal, and they kind of converted it into a space that had like a stage, artwork. It was absolutely beautiful and such a cool, unique place and a free public space, and I thought it was so neat. So I really recommend checking it out. There's free Wi-Fi there, and these giant like beanbag chair sack kind of things. So we just chilled most of the night there. Finally, the last place that we went in Montreal, the Botanical Gardens. My boyfriend's major is in plant science, so this was definitely something that was on our list. We really didn't have enough time or as much as we wanted to explore the gardens because they're massive. I absolutely loved it. I think it was well worth its money. There were such cool areas like medicinal plants, toxic plants, the arboretum, and then themed gardens. There was like China, Japan, an Aboriginal garden, and I just thought it was super neat, and definitely something I would recommend. I know that the Biodome is a big attraction in Montreal, but it was actually closed this summer, and I don't think it reopens until next summer. So I would definitely recommend going there. I've heard such great things about it, but it will just have to be something that would wait. So yeah, that was our short but sweet trip to Montreal. We really enjoyed it. Hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of some things to do and check out. I know I did my research before I went because this was actually my first time going. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you have a lovely time in Montreal if you're watching for the sole purpose of going. And if not, I hope maybe I convinced you to go. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.